How has practice of TM over the years helped you?
For me, what meditation does at the most root level is bring me back to zero and remind me of sort of my most natural state and what my value is in the world in a really core way. I think it's so easy to get caught up in the challenges, physical and material and ambition, and you know, there's all the stuff that is sort of set up in the world to distract us from our sort of most basic self and our most basic instincts, and there's so much fear and anxiety that it kind of accompanies modern life. And for me, meditation is the thing that reminds me of sort of who I am and what we all are. And it sounds so mystical, but it's actually so basic, because everyone in my family struggles with anxiety. It's sort of our family plague. Some people have a family full of alcoholics,
Right.
Some people have a family full of depressives. We have a family full of deeply anxious people who never feel like they have quite, at the end of the day, they never feel like they've quite done what they needed to do, beaten the system, and you know, like my parents just moved into a new apartment and their lease is a year, and my father's already having a complete breakdown about where he's going to live next. Like, no one can ever get comfortable, and so this is something that we need. And I think for me, obviously so much of what I do is because there's amazing people around me, from my family to my collaborators to my friends to the people who watch the show and engage with it. I feel lucky on all those levels. I think that for me, what meditation does is allow me to balance all of it and know that there's a space that I'm headed to that's just mine, where it's actually a lot like, it's funny, something I like about acting. I'm not, a method actor or a great I don't have great dramatist tools, but when I'm in character, something I enjoy about it is that I have a break from my problems. I'm just engaging with somebody else's, and so I can switch into the zone where my stresses have disappeared, and even if I'm acting through something that's really painful and intense, it's not what I'm dealing with for the rest of the day. It's a break, and meditation sort of has a similar function. And first season of Girls, I was so busy and so stressed that I actually wasn't meditating on set, and second season is when I did start meditating on set, and everything changed for me.
Where do your ideas come from, and does meditation help with, transcendental meditation help with that?
It's always a mystery where creative ideas come from. Sometimes you have to really struggle. Sometimes you're walking down the street and it occurs to you. Sometimes you think you have the greatest idea in the world, and then you share it with your collaborators and they look horrified and you realize that it wasn't actually so good. I often find that if I'm sort of up against the wall creatively and don't understand how to fix a problem and feel totally at a loss, if I meditate and take that time, when I emerge, the idea has sort of almost happened without me, because it was sort of in there the whole time, the solution, and meditating allowed me to calm all the noise around it and let it emerge. And that is one of its greatest uses, because I think that stress and anxiety and fear of disappointing people, all those things are at odds with creativity. And I think a lot of people think, and I used to be one of these people, that think that they're creative because they're suffering, when really that's actually so antithetical to making things that you're proud of. That there's so many people who are caught up in the idea that if they're happy in their family life, or if they are in love, or if they aren't, drinking themselves into oblivion every night, that somehow the magical thing that they have that allows them to make art is going to disappear. And I think I used to be sort of fall victim to that idea, and now I realize that calming all that anxious noise is actually the thing that allows me to make stuff, and that I've actually been creating in spite of all that, not because of it. When you're struggling with any kind of illness, I'm sure, but mental illness is what I have personal experience with, part of your dream is you're like, I wish I could just be outside myself. I'm trapped in here in my own mind. And meditation is the closest thing I've felt to sort of escape. But what's beautiful about it is it's not like, getting stoned or passing out. It's like an escape into the deepest part of yourself. another big thing that meditation's done for me is I always have had a really extreme fear of death. Like, it's just been one of my greatest anxieties, has been a constant focus on sort of the fact that we're all going to die, and that has been something that's been very hard for me.
Even as a
to sit
child?
with. Always. From the minute I understood.
Minute you were born.
Basically.
Yeah.
I don't remember a time where that's not something I was aware of and thinking about.
Sure.
And I think that meditation connected me to a part of myself that felt eternal and whole and not affected by sort of changes. And that it's, again, very hard to put words to because it's very deep and instinctual, but that's been something that's provided me a lot of comfort. I no longer wake up every day thinking, is today the day I'm going to die?
Mm-hmm.
Is this, it's a part of my consciousness, which I think and believe is healthy, but it's not as fear-based as it once was, and that's definitely been a product of meditating, and meditating as an adult. Well, it's interesting, we, on the set of Girls, it's really important to us. Jenny Connor, who's my partner in Girls, who also started meditating with you, and
yeah, she's great.
Your colleague Joanna Pitt, and she's incredible, and she's my best friend. And, something that we see is that the film industry, people often act like we're going in to put out fires. I mean, people work 16-hour days, they don't eat well, they don't sleep enough, and it affects you, it affects your decision-making. I mean, something that's, not to make too great a leap, but something that's really been important to Jenny and me to discuss is that this year there was a very tragic death in the film industry of a girl named Sarah Jones there was an accident that happened on a set because an assistant director and a producer made a very poor choice to shoot on a train track that they said was where they said the train wasn't active. It was, and a bed that was laid across the train track was shattered and Sarah was killed. And that is, on a very basic level, the negligence of one person, but the fact is in the film industry, people are sleep deprived, anxious, and making bad decisions as a result. And the fact is you do have to wonder, I mean, I know on my set that I work with people whose safety is a huge priority for them. It's very hard for me to imagine that happening, but you do have to wonder if someone's anxiety, sleep deprivation, and desperation to get the job done prevented them from making a smart choice. And so for Jenny and me, it's really important that our set be a place where people feel like they're not being harassed to work at some pace that makes it impossible for them to feel calm and to do their best work. And so we've really been talking about a way to introduce meditation to our crew, and we already, yanked the donuts out of craft services, but now we had exercise classes available. It's really important to us that people feel a lower level of trauma and exhaustion than we have seen on some other sets.